Welcome to our channel, the place where knowledge meets curiosity. Here, we dive deep into the wonders of history, science, culture, and mysteries that shape our world. Every video is designed to open your mind and spark your imagination. So sit back, relax, and let's begin this incredible journey together. Now we explore, explain, power struggles among the Greek gods, from Titans to Olympians.
In the beginning, before the world as we know it existed, there was only chaos, a formless void, endless and silent. From chaos emerged Gaia, the personification of Earth, and Uranus, the sky, who became her consort. Together, they gave birth to the first generation of beings, the Titans, the Cyclopes, and the Hecatonchires. The Titans were powerful deities whose strength and authority would define the early cosmos. Among them, Cronus, the youngest and most ambitious, would come to dominate the unfolding story of divine power struggles. Uranus, fearing the strength of his children, imprisoned the Cyclopes and Hecatonchires in the depths of Earth, an act that sowed the seeds of rebellion. Gaia, angered by Uranus's cruelty, sought to end his tyranny and urged Cronus to rise against his father. Armed with a sickle, Cronus ambushed Uranus, overthrowing him and assuming control over the cosmos. This marked the beginning of Titan rule, an era of immense power, but also of tension, as the seeds of familial conflict were already planted. Cronus ruled over the Titans with both wisdom and fear. He married his sister Rhea, and together they bore several children, including Hestia, Hera, Demeter, Poseidon, Hades, and finally, Zeus. Despite the strength of his rule, Cronus was haunted by prophecy. Gaia and Uranus, even in their absence, had foretold that Cronus himself would be overthrown by one of his children. Fearful of this destiny, Cronus resorted to a horrific measure. As each child was born, he swallowed them whole, preventing them from challenging his throne. Rhea, heartbroken at losing her children, sought to save her youngest, Zeus. When Zeus was born, she deceived Cronus by offering him a stone wrapped in swaddling cloths, which he swallowed, believing it to be his son. Zeus was secretly raised in the hidden caves of Crete, nurtured by nymphs and protected by divine guardians, away from the watchful eyes of his father. Zeus's upbringing was marked by secrecy, care, and the cultivation of his latent power. As he matured, he gained allies among the gods and Titans who had grown disillusioned with Cronus's tyranny. The Cyclopes, previously imprisoned by Uranus and later by Cronus, were freed by Zeus and in gratitude forged powerful weapons for him, the Thunderbolt, the most fearsome weapon in the divine arsenal. Armed with this, Zeus prepared for the inevitable confrontation with his father. The conflict that followed, known as the Titanomachy, was a war of unprecedented scale, lasting 10 years, where Titans and Olympians clashed with overwhelming force. Titans commanded immense natural and cosmic powers, while Zeus and his siblings, though younger, wielded cunning, strategy, and the loyalty of other divine beings. The earth shook, the seas churned, and the skies roared with the fury of immortal combatants, illustrating the violent stakes inherent in divine hierarchies.
The Titanomachy was not only a physical battle, but a struggle of ideology and vision. Cronus represented the old order, where rule was absolute and power was inherited and maintained through fear. Zeus, by contrast, embodied a shift toward a more structured, cooperative form of divine governance, one that emphasized alliances, justice, and the balance of power among the gods. The Olympians, under Zeus's leadership, gradually gained the upper hand, utilizing both intelligence and powerful weapons to challenge the brute strength of the Titans. Notably, the Cyclops' gift of the Thunderbolt gave Zeus a decisive advantage, allowing him to strike with devastating force, symbolizing the triumph of innovation and strategy over sheer strength. After years of grueling battle, the Titans were defeated, and most were imprisoned in Tartarus, a deep abyss reserved for the most dangerous of divine beings. This victory cemented Zeus's supremacy and established the era of the Olympian gods. With the Titans subdued, Zeus and his siblings began to distribute power among themselves, creating a hierarchy that would define the divine order for generations. Poseidon received dominion over the seas, Hades over the underworld, and Zeus assumed sovereignty over the sky and the earth. Hera became the queen of the gods, overseeing marriage and family, while Demeter was entrusted with the cycles of agriculture and fertility, and Hestia with the hearth and domesticity. Despite the clear division of responsibilities, the era of the Olympians was not free from conflict. Power struggles persisted, now shifting focus from overthrowing tyrannical rulers to managing rivalries among the gods themselves. Zeus, though supreme, often had to mediate disputes between siblings, handle challenges from younger gods, and even confront mortals whose actions threatened to disturb the balance of divine authority. The conflicts among the Olympians reveal a complex picture of divine politics. For instance, Poseidon frequently clashed with Athena over the patronage of cities, most famously Athens, demonstrating how personal rivalries could have tangible consequences for both gods and humans. Hera, zealous in protecting her status as queen, often opposed Zeus's romantic pursuits, creating tension that rippled through divine and mortal realms alike. Even minor gods and demigods, such as Hermes, Ares, and Hephaestus, became embroiled in schemes, alliances, and subtle betrayals, highlighting that power in the Olympian hierarchy was not only about strength, but also about influence, cunning, and loyalty. The stories of these conflicts, preserved through generations of myth, reveal that the nature of power among the gods was a reflection of human concerns: jealousy, ambition, vengeance, and the pursuit of respect and recognition.
In addition to interpersonal conflicts, the Olympians faced challenges from mortals. Human hubris often provoked divine wrath, resulting in punishments but served as both mortal lessons and assertions of authority. Prometheus, for instance, defied Zeus by gifting fire to humanity, an act that enabled civilization to progress but also challenged Zeus's supremacy. As punishment, Prometheus was bound to a rock where an eagle devoured his liver daily, a vivid demonstration of the consequences of defying divine will. Such interactions illustrate that the Olympians' power struggles extended beyond their own ranks, encompassing moral and social order among humans. Mortals, in turn, became instruments and participants in divine rivalries, whether through epic wars, quests, or acts of devotion and rebellion, emphasizing the interconnectedness of divine and human spheres. Moreover, the power struggles among the gods often had symbolic resonance. The Titanomachy represented the overthrow of old paradigms by a younger generation, a theme reflected in countless myths and stories. Conflicts between gods like Zeus and Poseidon, or Hera and Athena, mirrored human struggles for influence, recognition, and justice. Even Zeus's actions toward mortals, such as punishing hubris or rewarding piety, reflected the broader concerns of governance, authority, and ethical responsibility. These narratives served not only as entertainment, but as cultural instruments, teaching lessons about leadership, morality, and the consequences of ambition. The myths captured the imagination of ancient Greeks and continue to do so today, demonstrating the enduring power of storytelling as a medium for exploring complex social and ethical dynamics.
After the Olympians secured victory over the Titans, the new cosmic order seemed established. Zeus, now the undisputed king of the gods, held dominion over the sky, the earth, and all living beings. Yet, this supremacy was never absolute. Even among the Olympians, subtle rivalries and conflicting ambitions shaped the dynamics of power. Hera, Zeus's sister and queen, often opposed him in matters of personal and political significance. Her jealousy over Zeus's numerous affairs frequently led her to interfere in mortal and divine affairs, creating tension not only with Zeus, but also with other gods and demigods who were connected to these unions. Hera's influence over marriage, family, and societal structure made her an essential figure in maintaining order. Yet her frequent confrontations with Zeus highlighted that even supreme authority was not without challenge. Athena, born fully armored from Zeus's forehead, embodied wisdom, strategy, and foresight. While she was loyal to her father, her intelligence and moral reasoning sometimes put her at odds with other Olympians, especially those driven by emotion or desire. Athena's rivalries often intersected with mortal affairs. For instance, her contests with Poseidon over the patronage of cities illustrated how divine disputes directly affected human societies. The city of Athens, ultimately under Athena's protection, became a symbol of wisdom and strategic excellence, while Poseidon's storms and earthquakes represented the unpredictable force of the sea, capable of shaping the fate of civilizations. Such interactions reveal that Olympian rivalries were not mere petty quarrels. They were extensions of power dynamics that influenced the natural world, political decisions, and cultural development. Poseidon, god of the seas, was both a loyal ally and a potential rival to Zeus. His vast dominion over oceans, rivers, and earthquakes made him a formidable force. However, his pride and occasional wrath sometimes caused friction. Poseidon's contests with Athena and his sporadic disagreements with Zeus reflected the tension inherent in distributing power among deities. Unlike mortals, gods could not be subdued permanently. Their strength and immortality made compromise and negotiation the only viable means to maintain balance. Poseidon's influence extended beyond conflict with other gods. His ability to summon storms, shipwrecks, and floods made him a constant presence in the lives of sailors, merchants, and coastal civilizations. In this way, Olympian rivalries mirrored human power struggles, illustrating that authority was as much about negotiation, respect, and perception as it was about raw strength.
Beyond divine rivalries, Zeus faced challenges from mortals whose ambition and hubris threatened his authority. Prometheus, the Titan who defied Zeus to benefit humanity, became the most famous symbol of this dynamic. By stealing fire from Olympus and gifting it to humans, Prometheus enabled technological and cultural advancement, challenging Zeus's vision of control. Zeus's punishment, binding Prometheus to a rock with his liver eternally consumed by an eagle, served as a vivid warning of the consequences of defying divine will. Mortals, through their pride and ingenuity, were capable of influencing divine affairs, often provoking the gods into action that reaffirmed or reasserted their power. Such interactions demonstrate the intertwined nature of mortal and divine spheres, where human ambition could catalyze conflict, but the gods' response reinforced cosmic order. The story of Pandora's box further illustrates the Olympians' involvement in human affairs. Zeus, angered by Prometheus's gift, commissioned the creation of Pandora, the first mortal woman, endowed with beauty, curiosity, and cunning. She was sent to Epimetheus with a sealed box, carrying all manner of misfortunes and evils. When Pandora's curiosity led her to open it, humanity was exposed to suffering, disease, and toil. Yet hope remained, contained within the box, symbolizing that even in hardship, divine order preserved a measure of balance. Through Pandora, Zeus's authority over mortals was reinforced. While humans possessed agency, their actions remained subject to divine oversight. These narratives underscore a recurring theme in Greek mythology. The balance of power was delicate, and the consequences of misjudgment or hubris were often severe. The Olympians' power struggles were not limited to Zeus and mortals. Other gods, such as Ares, Hephaestus, Hermes, and Apollo, played significant roles in shaping the dynamics of divine authority. Ares, god of war, embodied aggression and conflict, often acting impulsively in disputes that could escalate tensions among both gods and humans. Hephaestus, the master craftsman, provided the Olympians with weapons and tools of immense power, including Zeus's thunderbolt, illustrating the importance of skill and ingenuity in the balance of power. Hermes, messenger of the gods, navigated alliances and communication, ensuring that disputes were sometimes mitigated or strategically leveraged. Apollo, god of prophecy, music, and light, influenced both divine and human realms by foretelling events.
reminding gods and mortals alike that destiny and foresight could override brute strength. These interactions reveal that power was multifaceted, relying on intellect, skill, foresight, and alliances as much as physical might.
Even minor disputes among Olympians had significant consequences. The quarrels between Aphrodite and Athena over beauty and pride, or the competitions between Apollo and Hermes in matters of cunning and art, demonstrated that hierarchy and status were constantly negotiated. These rivalries often mirrored human concerns, providing mythological frameworks through which ancient Greeks explored questions of justice, morality, and ethics. By observing the gods, humans could understand the consequences of pride, ambition, and deceit, while also learning the value of loyalty, strategy, and cleverness. Thus, the Olympians' conflicts served both narrative and instructional purposes, linking divine power to moral and social lessons that were vital for the cohesion of ancient Greek culture. The narratives of divine punishment and reward highlight the moral dimensions of Olympian rule. Zeus frequently intervened when mortals displayed hubris, as in the cases of Niobe or King Sisyphus. Niobe, who boasted of her superiority to the goddess Leto, suffered the loss of her children at the hands of Apollo and Artemis, demonstrating the dangers of arrogance before the divine. King Sisyphus, who attempted to outwit Zeus, was condemned to eternally push a boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back down. Such stories reinforced the notion that divine authority demanded respect and obedience. Yet they also reflected the nuanced ways in which power could be contested, resisted, or strategically navigated. Mortals, through ingenuity or defiance, could challenge the gods, but the consequences of such challenges were carefully calibrated to preserve the broader cosmic order. Furthermore, the interactions between gods and mortals were not solely punitive. Zeus and the Olympians could also bestow blessings, rewards, and guidance, reflecting the complex nature of authority and governance. Heroes such as Heracles and Perseus received divine assistance, illustrating that power was not only coercive, but also conditional and relational. Alliances between gods and mortals were negotiated, often involving tests of loyalty, courage, or wisdom. These dynamics highlight a recurring theme. Power was relational and conditional, requiring constant negotiation, diplomacy, and vigilance. The Olympians' engagement with humans underscores their dual role as both rulers and participants in a shared moral universe, where authority and responsibility were intertwined.
Even after the major battles of the Titanomachy and the initial consolidation of power by Zeus, the Olympian world remained a place of tension, competition, and negotiation. Rivalries among gods persisted, not merely for control, but also for influence, reputation, and recognition. While Zeus reigned as king, the balance of power among the gods was maintained through constant vigilance, mediation, and sometimes coercion. For instance, Athena's strategic wisdom often tempered the impulsive actions of Ares, while Apollo's prophecies served as guidance for both gods and mortals. The relationships among the gods were complex. Alliances could shift, disputes could arise unexpectedly, and loyalty was often tested. This dynamic reflects an essential theme of Greek mythology. Power is never static, and authority, even divine authority, is always subject to challenge and negotiation. Zeus's ongoing efforts to manage his siblings, offspring, and allies illustrate the subtleties of governance in a divine realm. Hera, as queen of the gods, often acted as both counterbalance and challenger to Zeus's decisions. Her interventions, while motivated by personal jealousy at times, also reflected a broader concern with the ethical and social consequences of divine actions. Similarly, Poseidon's occasional displays of anger or independence required Zeus to carefully weigh his responses, ensuring that the natural and mortal worlds remained in harmony. The mythological narratives suggest that rulership, even at the level of gods, demands diplomacy, foresight, and adaptability, as unchecked power can lead to chaos, rebellion, and unintended consequences. The conflicts among the Olympians were further complicated by the involvement of heroes and demigods. Figures such as Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus played crucial roles in resolving divine rivalries, serving as instruments through which gods could assert authority, test moral principles, or influence the mortal world. Heracles in particular became both a beneficiary and a target of divine favor, undertaking challenges that reinforced Zeus's power and demonstrated the consequences of hubris, courage, and perseverance. These heroic narratives provided a bridge between the divine and mortal realms, illustrating how power, whether exercised by gods or humans, was interconnected and mutually influential. The stories of heroes also reinforced moral and ethical lessons, emphasizing that strength alone was insufficient without wisdom, justice, and humility.
One of the most persistent themes in Greek mythology is the tension between fate and free will. Even the gods were bound to some extent by destiny. The Fates, or Moirai, were powerful beings who controlled the threads of life, determining the course of both mortals and immortals. Zeus himself, despite his supreme authority, had to contend with the limitations imposed by fate. Prophecies foretold events that could not be entirely avoided, such as the overthrow of Cronus by Zeus or the eventual challenges posed by Zeus's own children. These narratives highlight that power, while formidable, is constrained by larger cosmic principles. The interplay between destiny and choice underscores a central moral of Greek mythology. Authority and responsibility must be exercised with prudence, for even the most powerful beings are subject to the laws of the universe. The resolution of divine conflicts often involved negotiation, compromise, and the establishment of clear hierarchies. After the Titanomachy, Zeus distributed domains to his siblings, creating a functional system in which each god had authority over a particular sphere. Poseidon ruled the seas, Hades oversaw the underworld, and Zeus maintained dominion over the sky and earth. These allocations helped reduce overt conflict, but disputes still arose over influence, recognition, and moral decisions. Athena's guidance, Hermes' diplomacy, and Apollo's foresight were instrumental in managing these tensions, demonstrating that leadership relies on both authority and the ability to coordinate complex networks of relationships. The myths suggest that sustainable power is never exercised in isolation. It requires attention to both allies and rivals, balancing ambition with wisdom. Interactions between gods and mortals continued to reflect the ethical and social dimensions of divine authority. The concept of hubris, or excessive pride, served as a recurring cautionary principle. Mortals who challenged or disrespected the gods often faced severe consequences, as seen in the stories of Niobe, Arachne, and Icarus. At the same time, mortals who acted with respect, intelligence, or bravery could earn favor, blessings, and protection, as with Perseus and Odysseus. These stories illustrate that power in the Greek mythological framework is relational. It exists in the interplay between authority and obedience, ambition and moderation, pride and humility. The gods' involvement in mortal affairs reinforced their own legitimacy, ensuring that divine order remained central to the functioning of the universe.
The myths also explore the consequences of rivalry within the divine realm itself. Conflicts among the gods were not merely about domination. They were often moral or symbolic struggles, representing competing values, domains, and visions for the world. For example, Athena's rationality and justice often counterbalanced Ares' violence and impulsiveness, while Apollo's guidance tempered Dionysian chaos. These rivalries highlight the multiplicity of power, showing that authority is complex and multidimensional. Greek mythology thus presents a nuanced perspective. Power is never singular or absolute. It is dynamic, contested, and shaped by relationships, moral considerations, and the broader cosmic order. Finally, the enduring lessons of these myths are evident both within the narrative and in their influence on human culture. The power struggles among the gods teach that authority is fragile, relationships are critical to governance, and moral action is inseparable from power. Zeus's leadership, though supreme, was constantly tested, reminding audiences that even the mightiest rulers must navigate challenges with prudence, wisdom, and foresight. The interaction between gods, heroes, and mortals emphasizes that responsibility and accountability extend across levels of power, whether divine or human. These stories, preserved through oral tradition, literature, and art, continue to captivate modern audiences, offering timeless insights into leadership, ethics, ambition, and the delicate balance of authority. Through these stories, the struggles of the gods remain relevant, reminding us that authority, ambition, and wisdom are universal challenges, whether in the heavens or on earth.